Welcome to TriTech University. My name is Bill Steppen, and today we're going to take a look at extending the online functions into your membership realm. So we've done a couple of sessions, one on e-commerce. Well, I think we might have done one or more on e-commerce. We've definitely done at least one or several on membership functions. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how AIM can combine those two functions so that you can sell your memberships online. And we're going to take a look at that from a couple of different angles. So before we jump into all of that, as always, here is our housekeeping for the day. Over on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see a chat option. Feel free to click on that, and then down at the bottom, click the nickname button so that you can enter in your name, and you can say hi, and you can ask me questions, and anything else like that, or just to, say hi, because I'd love to hear from you and see that you're here to take advantage of this knowledge. Of course, we're going to be recording this as always and putting it out there, but it's fun to take advantage of the live stream aspect of this. So anyway, if you're here, go ahead, log in, say hi, and if you have any questions during this process, go ahead and ask. So let's go ahead and switch over to my TriTech University system. Now, normally if I'm doing things online, I would usually jump into a system where I could actually tie this into a website for us to kind of look at. I didn't get the opportunity to do that this time, but hopefully if you are attending this session or you're watching it right now, you've had an opportunity to either previously attend the sessions that I did on memberships and on e-commerce functions, and especially on online contract functions, because I'm going to be taking I'm going to be assuming that you'll be building on that knowledge watching this session or attending this session. So if you recall, when we're talking about memberships, we've got a couple of different ways of selling those. We can sell them directly as non-inventory categories and subcategories. We can take those and we can also put them onto a long-term contract. Each of those procedures have their own benefits. If you're just doing a direct sale, then it's more in the line of a membership where you make that purchase and then that membership is good through the lifetime of that purchase. It has an expiration date, and then at the time or at the end of that period, it's time to renew, and then you would sell them a new membership. With the contract function, it acts more like an ongoing process. So typically you would set that up as what we would call a rent-to-rent contract, and then with rent-to-rent, basically the payments just happen or are billed monthly or quarterly or whatever the payment stream is there. And in the case of a rent-to-rent contract, it just basically the membership is good through however often or however long the customer wants to maintain that agreement. And when they stop paying, the membership ceases. You could also do it as a sales contract where it's more similar to the first item where you make a sale and then it's good through the expiration date of that. But with putting it on a sales contract, the amount is not all due up front. So if it's like, say, for example, a $1,000 a year membership broken into 12 payments, or let's say $1,200 to keep the math simple, and it's broken into payments each month at $100 a month, and then they still have to renew. They have to specifically say at the end of that year, I want to sign up for another year. You could do that as a sales contract. So again, that's just kind of a recap of things we've already talked about in prior sessions on the memberships. What I want to do now is I want to take those aspects and see how we can put them online for your customers to purchase. There are a couple of ways of doing that. The first one we're going to look at is where you have a subcategory and you just want to sell it online. So it's a subcategory, let's call it an annual contract, or not contract, an annual membership. It's just a flat amount, X amount of money upfront, due right away, and then when you sell it, it's got an expiration date on it. It's good to go. So the way that you would set those up is you would have already had in your ledger area the non-inventory subcategories for that. So here we have the memberships for individual annual membership, and I've also got one here for family annual membership. They each have their own specific price point. What you would do is you would make sure that you've got your e-commerce all set up, and then if you're using either Vortex or Shopify or anything like that, you would take advantage of the web categories. You would click that Active E button, and then this Active E setup is specific to whatever I have highlighted. In this case, it's the individual annual membership. Hey, Rich, how you doing? Good to see you. So in this case, I've just got one web category in my system, just to keep it real simple. Of course, you would normally have web categories for other things in your store. Like if you were a music store, you'd probably have categories for guitars and pianos and band and orchestra and so on and so forth. If you're a firearms store, you'd probably have categories for handguns, long guns, ammunition, etc. If you are a golf shop and a pro shop, you would have things that you're selling online, like clubs and hats and gloves and shoes. Either way you slice it, you're going to want to make sure you've got a category for memberships. And of course, you would be setting that up in the Active E area of the maintenance. But then you would just come to the subcategories, find your membership categories, and then click the Active E button and check mark the web category as appropriate. If you want, of course, you can fill in the description for it. It'll list on your website just like any other normal inventory item. So it would list out with the description that you have here, and then the extended description. And if you want, you could certainly upload images for them. One thing to keep in mind is if you come in here without first setting it up, it is going to tell you you need to set up back in your Active E maintenance a manufacturer for package deals and non-inventory items. So really quick, if you hop into Active E setup and go to the e-commerce and API tab, and then come to the second tab for updating the shopping cart, on General 2, you'll notice down here is a drop-down called Package Deal and Non-Inventory Manufacturer. I created one internally that I just call Professor Tritech, because this is Professor Tritech's emporium of anything and everything. If you get to this point and you don't have one that would be applicable for package deal or non-inventory items, you can always right-click and show selection grid, and then you can click here to the add option where you can then create one on the fly. So you've got that functionality available. You might notice you can't just type directly into that like you could if you were adding inventory. We've kind of talked about that as well. So that's basically how you can set up a non-inventory subcategory for just a direct sale online. This individual annual membership would appear on my website listed as such for $200, and then when a customer purchases that and pays for it through the shopping cart, those would import just like any other e-commerce order here in the Import E-commerce Orders program. It would already be linked to that subcategory item, and then it would list just like a normal membership sale, except it was originally ordered through the website. So that's the kind of the most straightforward way of doing that. That does not give you any options for the monthly payments or the auto-renewal or anything like that. If you want to give your customers those options, you will need to take advantage of the online contract functionality. And let's take a look at how we can kind of take those settings and tweak them to our needs. So, looking at the clock here, let's take a quick look at this. Well, let's take an in-depth look at this. How about? So we're going to go into the contract setup launcher. And basically what we kind of want to do, we want to think about this not from a what inventory are we putting onto a contract, what options are we putting out there for our customers as far as a rental. We want to kind of think of it a little bit differently. So what you want to kind of assume, you want to kind of start with the inventory in this case. You're still going to need a district, a school, and a teacher. Again, for the overview of how all of this works, I recommend checking out the 3-part series that I did on online contracts. But we can simplify a lot of this. So in most cases, you don't need a whole lot of detail at the district, school, and teacher level, you just need some kind of placeholder in here. So in the district, we'd come in here, we could put in NA, and that's all that we would need. We could just do that. We could do the same thing for school, NA, district is NA, and save. And then we can do that same thing for teacher. We could say school is NA, teacher is NA, and save. And boom, just like that, we've got that taken care of. So if the website, typically if the website is set up by default and it sees that all of the options in the district, school, and teacher, if there is basically only one option, it'll just pick them for you. So in most cases, your customers shouldn't even see those options if all you're doing is selling memberships online. Now, if you are kind of combining this with an actual online contract function, you will want to maybe take advantage of some other functions that we got coming down the pipeline where you can get a function where you can take the direct URL of all of these settings and just make a direct link to it. But if all you're doing is selling memberships online through this contract process, just like that, have an NA option for all of those. And now you also don't even really need, technically you would need a delivery option. I believe you would want to have something like again, it probably doesn't really apply. In fact, you probably don't even need a delivery option in that case. I haven't really tested this, I'm afraid. But you definitely don't need any maintenance. You don't even really need any accessories. You can pretty much go straight to inventory. And for inventory, whatever you want I'm going to call it the main description of the membership to be. Set those up and make sure that each one has its own unique level. So in my case, I've got an individual membership set up as level 1. I have a family membership set up as level 2. That's all you really need. Now, I want to break this out a little bit more and talk about grades, because if you recall, if you were in attendance to the online contract functionality, one of the very first things we usually talk about when we get to inventory is grades. Now, grades are not really necessary, but what I want you to do is think about your membership program and think about how you have it structured. Because what you want to do is you want the inventory item to be the main the main delineator. What type of contract is it? In my case, I have it set up as individual and family, and I have the opportunity, I've set these up kind of ahead of time. I have 3 grades that would be applicable to memberships. I have a silver, a gold, and a platinum. Now, what this allows me to do is differentiate an individual silver from an individual gold to an individual platinum. And likewise, I can do the same thing at the family inventory level. I could say I've got a family silver, a family gold, a family platinum. If you think of it more along the lines of the opposite of that, you just want to do literally the opposite. You'd have back at the inventory setup, you would have silver, gold, and platinum as different inventory items, and then at the grade level you would have, instead of silver, gold, platinum, you would have individual and family. Really, when it's all said and done, it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But from a consumer perspective, when your customers are just browsing your online options, whatever you have at the inventory level is going to be the first thing they see. And just from my standpoint, I think I would be more apt to pick an individual versus family, because I already know that, for example, I am a family. So a family membership, I would assume, would cover my wife and my children. Others may say, okay, well, I'm a single dude or a dudette. I'm going to pick the family, or excuse me, the individual membership. I may not know what silver, gold, and platinum at all are. So this gives me an opportunity to at least kind of start down that process and then review as I go. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. But by all means, whatever you envision or however you have your membership plan structured, just kind of think about it in those regards. So with that said, the most important part of all of this gets to the plan and rate table. At the plan and rate table, typically you're going to have what I'm calling a default plan or a standard plan, and remember how I was kind of mentioning at the inventory level, you've got the different levels for each one. This is where the pricing gets into play. Now, I didn't take into account the grades. I basically said there's no grade, it's just individual or family. And when I created this table, I said level 1, which I already know in my head to be the individual membership, I set up as $20 down, $20 a month, and then basically my setup is it'll just go through until the customer decides to stop paying. If you recall, back in my subcategory area, I had set it up where an individual annual membership is $200. So now, essentially the way that I've got my particular plan structured is if they pay this for 10 months, they've now covered an annual, and then actually I'm making more money for I'm essentially making $240 a year if the customer wants to pay monthly with the opportunity and the ability to cancel at any time. So they may only go for 3 months or 6 months, and if they do, hey, great, not a big deal. I only made, in my case of a 3-month plan, I only made $60 on that type of a payment, but I also gave the customer the freedom to withdraw at any time. If they were someone that wanted to pay upfront for an annual membership, then by all means they could do so, and then they could renew on that annual basis. You could also set it up where, and I've got this set up to pointing to a contract default of monthly membership where this is a rent-to-rent. I could also set it up where maybe I have a different plan. Let's just add a whole new plan altogether. Let's call this the annual plan. And the most important thing is you need to use the same levels. So let's go in and add level 1, which I know to be my individual membership. I don't have a contract default for this, but let's assume it's the sales contract one, which is what you would want it to be. The whole idea I'm thinking of with the annual plan is they pay upfront for the entire year, but then it can auto-renew at the end of that time period. So in my case, let's say that I set this up as $200 down and $200 quote-unquote a month, and then I save that. So then the sales contract default in my case just determines the payment frequency. So let's go ahead and finish this out. So level 2 would be sales contract, and that is the family one. I've got that one at $500. So we'll go ahead and add that. Of course, that needs a new code up here. So annual plan, let's just call this 12M membership. So something like that, just to give it a new code. It's got to be a unique code. So with that in mind, then if we just go back to the contract themselves, the contract defaults, at the sales contract level, I would just want to make sure that this is a 12-month payment frequency. So basically, it would just kind of renew at the end of that 12 months. Hopefully that making sense. Now, technically, okay, I'm actually kind of getting ahead of myself. Normally, that would still be a rent-to-rent, and they would just pay every month, or excuse me, every year based on the payment frequency. But either way you slice it, hopefully this is making sense. The sales if you set this up as a sales contract, it will just be the periodic payments, and it will still act, like I kind of said, like a one-time sale. The customer would then be on their onus to renew at the end of the term period of that. If it is set up like this, a monthly membership as a rent-to-rent, then the payment frequency here, if we think back to where I was at before, that's just got the monthly payment, and it will just go ad infinitum until the customer decides to stop payments and essentially cancel the contract. So if they wanted to set it up that way and then continue to go beyond a year, I'm technically making more money as a retailer. This is not a business strategy class. I'm nowhere near qualified to teach that. But technically I am making more per year selling an annual monthly agreement, or just a monthly agreement, not necessarily annual, just a monthly agreement, than I am just selling memberships outright at $200 a year. So basically, it's just a matter of kind of thinking about this from our online contract perspective. Now, again, if you attended our online contracts or watched that series, then you would know that when those get finalized through the web, you need to post them coming into the Active E menu and then going to Post Online Contracts. So those would show up in here, same as any other online contract would, with their name and the date that they submitted that online. And then you would see in the inventory section here, the web inventory section, in my case, that they purchased either an individual or a family. And then when I go to lock and link the customer and ultimately create the contract, I would just then need to still link it to technically to one of those two non-inventory subcategories, but the price in those cases doesn't really apply, because what it is going to do is it is going to pull the price points from the plan and rate table. So in my case with the default plan, I've got the individual membership set up at $20 a month. It'll automatically plug that into the new contract. It's going to set up the ongoing payments as $20 ongoing. And if someone signed up for the family plan, same thing. That would be at $50 down, $50 a month. And if we think back to my family memberships, I've got those set up at $500 a year. Same idea. So at 10 months, they've paid the equivalent of if they had just paid up front for the annual membership. But now I make an extra $100 a year, because ultimately 50 times 12 is $600. So I make an extra $100 by selling the family membership on a monthly basis, again with the ability for the customer to cancel at any time or just to keep it going for years and years and years. And for every year that they keep that plan active, I, as the retailer, make an extra $100. So that's kind of my thought process behind how you can take these details and kind of tweak them to your needs. But basically what I want to do is I want to challenge you to think about how you could make this work in your case. So again, thinking about that inventory item being the top level and then the grades being the variance, so to speak. Just kind of think about that from whatever membership plan you either are currently offering or that you are thinking about offering. And then if you have any questions, definitely reach out to our support team. We're always here to bounce ideas off of, or to help out with definitions and things of that nature. And by all means, if you want to ask me questions directly, you can always reach out to me at training@tritechretail.com. So hopefully this has been helpful. Let me go ahead, and I want to bring up my schedule for the next couple of time frames here. So where is... There it is. Okay. So, of course, if you click over to the right and click to back to the playlist tab, you'll be seeing what I'm seeing now. I just wanted to bring up my next couple of live stream broadcast items. So, June 14th, we're going to continue on our exploration of AIM's used inventory features. We kind of got started last month, or actually this month, and talked a little bit about consignment functions. So on June 14th, we're going to be looking at the trade-in process, how that works in AIM, and kind of fleshing out on that, taking a look at some maybe example scenarios of differences from one trade-in program to another, or what to do in case the trade-in value is not technically the same as the cost value. We'll be looking at that. On June 28th, we will maybe wrap up our used inventory function and look at purchases as a whole. Purchases are where you buy a used item outright from a customer as opposed to taking it in on trade or putting it through a consignment process. And then we jump into the month of July. So on July 12th, we'll be looking at assembled kits and package deals. What's the difference between those? What are the benefits of each different function, pros and cons? And then we'll kind of wrap up the the summer season with a July 26th Ask Me Anything broadcast, just like we did near the end of the spring session, where I thought that was really successful. I'd like to kind of keep on doing that for at least as long as there is interest. And of course, if you have any topics of interest that you'd like to see us cover here at TriTech University, up at the top there is a polls function. Don't click on it now because you'll be taken away from me, but that is where you can go to submit your ideas for future live stream topics. So definitely go in there and submit your ideas. I've kind of adjusted that a little bit. I used to refresh that on a monthly basis. Now I'm going to go ahead and kind of do that on a quarterly basis. I think that way it gives more people time to see what's in the pipeline for the upcoming sessions, and add your own comments to existing topic sessions or suggestions, as well as, of course, add your own. Rich is asking, can we set up discounts for certain memberships for sale items? That is an excellent question, Rich. Typically when we're talking about selling things online, I'm assuming that's kind of what this is in relation to. Discounts really would only be shown in the event where a customer who logs onto the website is an existing customer, and you've taken the opportunity to set up what we would call extended pricing. And really, extended pricing is only available for inventory items, where you have the option of an hour price versus a minimum price versus a price A or B or C. So I don't know if really this would be something that is capable right now, at least, of sale items for direct sales of memberships online. Technically, as far as doing it on a contract format, I suppose you could set up different plans, which would then have different rates in those plan tables, and it would just be a matter of kind of qualifying a customer and having them essentially click on a link that would take them to the appropriate page, or even having those links hidden and emailing your customers that are qualified for those certain discounts the direct link in an email, and then it would only be accessible to them through that emailed link. That's kind of what I'm thinking there in that respect. As far as just memberships on sale items, or maybe I'm thinking about this entirely backwards. Maybe you're talking about if they are a membership, then they get discounts online. If that's the case, then it would just be a matter of setting them up with, when they purchase that membership, setting them up to a different type of customer default, and then by way of that customer default, you can go in and set up access to that extended pricing that I was kind of talking about. But maybe I'm also just kind of misunderstanding entirely, so let me know if that's making sense, or if I did answer your question somewhere in those lines, or if I'm just completely off the mark. Last thing I was kind of thinking of was, as far as just selling memberships at a discount just in-house, by all means, technically, you can always just do a discount at point of sale, either by having a button set up and clicking that button to apply the discount, or customer defaults have the option of having a non-inventory percentage discount applied at point of sale. And since we're talking about non-inventory items, that would apply here as well. But yeah, let me know if that makes sense, or if I'm completely off the mark. If you wanted to carry that conversation on, or get in more in depth off the clock, Rich, definitely just shoot me an email. Again, my email is training@tritechretail.com. And I'm more than happy to take conversations further than we have time for in these live stream broadcasts. So yeah, I think, unless any other questions come in the next minute, I think that will do it for today's topic, and I certainly appreciate everyone's time and attention. I don't take that for granted. I know that a lot of you are in situations where it's very hard to get away from the front counter, especially now in this day and age of limited help and things like that. So It means the world to me here at TriTech that you're able to attend these sessions. And if you're not able to attend them live, at least we always make them available offline that you can watch at any time from our website. Rich is following up on that. He's saying, for example, a platinum customer will automatically get 10% off on accessories. So yeah, if that's the case, when you do sell someone a membership, you'll just want to make sure that you change their customer type. Here, let me switch back over to my screen here. So in a case like that, you would just want to make sure that if someone does purchase a membership where they then have that type of discount, you would just want to make sure that they get switched to a different customer default. Let's call it platinum customers or platinum members. You would want to make sure that you switch their customer type when they make that purchase to this customer default. Let's call it code 3, where they would then get that 10% off on the accessories. So if I need to put something in here, let's just grab a couple of options there. So then when a customer does make that purchase, either at the time of the sale or afterwards, if you're reviewing your membership sales, you would just want to make sure you go to change customers, and let's pull up good old Mike Anderson here. Assuming he's purchased that platinum membership, you would just want to switch that there, and it will then ask, would you like to apply the platinum members default values, and you would say yes to that, so that over here then we can see Mike Anderson now has that 10% off on any accessory inventory purchases. So it's not anything automatic, but you can definitely make that happen. Then on the flip side of that, of course, if and when that platinum membership expires, you would just need to come in and make sure, either again at the time of the day of or after their membership expires, or whenever it might be, just switching them back to cash customer or whatever the we'll call the normal default is in your system. So yeah, I think that covers the questions there. And like I said, I appreciate everyone's time, and we will see you, if nothing else, is that 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, however many weeks from now. So with that being said, thank you so much, and we will see you when we see you. Until then, take care.